So today's topic is all about the two sides to your work and your workday. Our title is It Takes More Than Talent. And I want to share with you what you need to succeed and why it's often overlooked in the workday. One of the things that I think is important to understand is that whether you're in a business or in a job, you're focused on your expertise. Now, the main thing is that you have that job or you have that business because you shine in that area. You shine because you bring so much to the table. And what backs up that expertise is a couple of different things. You've got your education, first of all. So, went to school, went to college, maybe got your MBA, maybe got all kinds of other certifications. Maybe you have letters all behind your, following your name. And you have all of that behind you. Then you've got your experience. And the experience that you bring to the table includes any time that you had worked in the past. So let's say you own a business, but you worked in different companies before. Or maybe when you were a teenager, you got started early because you were ambitious. Maybe you knew what you wanted to do at an early age and you dove right in. Maybe it took a little while to figure it out, but everything that you did up until the point of where you are now, of course, is built your experience. Now, it may not have been experience doing exactly what you're doing today, your talent and your expertise, but it's still life experience. It's work experience. You bring a lot to the table on that front. So then we get to the talent itself, the expertise, and this is what really makes you shine. And when you get to do this is where all the excitement is. This is where you love to spend time in your day, losing yourself in your work, working in the zone, if you will, and losing track of time. And that's where you really love what you do. But there's a second part to your workday. And it's the second part that is holding a lot of people up. Now, a lot of people aren't aware of this. So this is my job to make you aware of the possibilities and make you aware of what's really happening in your workday. And certainly if you're in a place right now where you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel deflated by the end of the day, or you wonder where the day goes and why you're not accomplishing certain things, this is why. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this today. This is our topic. So let's say you come into your office in the morning and you have things on your desk. Maybe you've got your papers and files and there's a couple different piles here and there, and you've got some legal pads. Maybe that's where your to-do lists are, or might have a steno pad or a spiral notebook, or maybe a planner. So you take a look at that, you kind of scan that, you scan your desk, you take a look around, take stock, of what's there. You might want to think a little bit about, what didn't I get to yesterday? What do I need to do today? And you look at your to-do list, and as you scan your to-do list, you might have a mix of some projects, you might have a mix of tasks, multi-step tasks, you might have little notations to yourself, you might have written down just like one word here and there to remind you of something, and it might not be actually described as an action step, but maybe just a little notation to remind you of something, and hopefully you'll remember, because that happens to my clients all the time. They'll see something on a legal pad, and it might be just somebody's name, Mary Smith. And they go, I don't know what that means. I'm not quite sure what I was supposed to do with that. So they end up crossing it off and forgetting about it. So that might be happening too. So you look at that legal pad of to-dos, and you might pick the top one or top two things that you really want to zero in on today. So you go, okay, I've looked at my desk. I've looked at my legal pad or my planner, got that. Now let me go over and check email. Let me see what's sitting over in there. What came in overnight? What did I flag from another day? What did I mark as unread so it stayed bold in the inbox? So you're going to take stock of that as well. And you're going to take a look. You might even get sucked in, and you might even start replying and deleting and, marking things as junk, filing some things, and then, getting some of that done. But you're also noticing, okay, I've got a task or a follow-up to do as a result of this email. So now what's happening is that you're comparing what you've seen on your desk and what you've seen on your legal pad And maybe you even checked voicemail. So let's not forget about voicemail and text and all that kind of stuff, because you might have written something also on your legal pad from that voicemail, like call Bob back, call John back. So you're taking stock of that. So now you're comparing and contrasting what you've seen in the variety of places that you're checking, and you're trying to remember, okay, I saw that in email, I saw that on my desk, I saw that on my planner. And now you're trying to compare and contrast those and prioritize basically in your head. It is very, very challenging to do. Very challenging. So that's one of the first things that you probably do in the morning. And then let's talk about when you might get interrupted in that process or distracted in that process. Let's say you start looking at email and you realize that you can actually answer this person's question if you could just find something in maybe your file cabinet, or maybe you look in your hard drive. So if you start with the file cabinet and you're not finding it, the question becomes, okay, did I print it and file this away, or did I actually save it as an electronic document? Should I look in my hard drive? Now, if you get to your hard drive at that point and it's a jumble of random, documents that are all listed, maybe under a couple of folders, maybe you don't have it all categorized or organized at this particular moment. So it takes a few minutes to try to find that, which can be very frustrating. All the while, you're trying to find this thing to answer that email and the phone rings. And that takes you even farther off track. So you go to reach to answer the phone and you talk to that person for a few minutes. And then you hang up the phone and you're thinking, okay, what was I doing? Where was I? What was I in the middle of? And maybe somebody walks into your office. All of these things, of course, make it difficult. And some of it is out of your control and some of it is within your control. So obviously we can't always stop the visitor from popping by and interrupting unless you have some sort of routine to let people know, okay, I'm going to have to visit you later. Can I come back and visit you in 10 minutes, or can we talk later this afternoon? Something like that. It depends. Because sometimes if you're just taking every interruption and every distraction as it occurs, well, then yes, you've got caught up in that rushed, reactive kind of workday where everyone and everything else is kind of pulling you through your day, and you're not really in charge of it. You're not actually in control of everything that happens. So with a day like that, it can leave you feeling like you didn't get anything accomplished because you might be jumping from task to phone call to text to notification to visitor to getting distracted with something on your desk, or sort of starting over and looking at that to-do list and kind of bouncing around in your day. And that makes it very, very difficult for you to actually get to what you do best. And it can raise your stress because you are now feeling frustrated and behind because you didn't get to do the things that you might have really wanted to knock out first thing in the day and get those things done. So now at this point, with things that are happening with email and being interrupted and distracted and you're bouncing around, you're not actually getting to do what you do best. Now, when your stress goes up, and it goes up a lot, and you're on your way to burnout, you're definitely not doing your best work. So you don't want to let this kind of rushed and reactive workday get in the way and then overshadow your talent, your expertise, your experience, your education, that whole package that is you and what you do best, because that is what happens to people every single day, is that they are slowed down and often stopped, because they have to stop and look for things they know they have, but just can't find, or they get so pulled far off track that they can't get back to what they want to do. And if tasks are everywhere, they're in email, they're on the desk, they're in the legal pad, all these different places, there's a lot of regrouping going on. And regrouping is what happens when you finish a task, which is great. But then you're thinking, okay, now what? What's next? Where do I need to go? And then that process starts all over again, where you're looking at the desk, you look at your legal pad. And for those of you who have more than one to-do list, maybe there's a couple legal pads. I've had clients who have anywhere between 5 and 15 different legal pads in motion because they either lost one or they lost track of it, or they have them for different reasons. So there could be a lot of different legal pads or planners or steno notebooks that you're looking at, which can really slow the process down. Never mind email, which is always a burden for everyone. So that regrouping takes a lot of time. So all of this is what I want to make sure that your awareness is raised. All of this adds up to one really important concept, and that is the two parts to your work and the two parts to your workday. There's your talent and your expertise and your education and all those beautiful things you bring to the table. And then there's how you're working, the how of your workday. And I've said it a million times before, and I'll say it a million times again. The how is like the operating system that should be running quietly and smoothly in the background of your day. But for a lot of professionals, it's not working that way. And what happens is when the how isn't working, when that how do I get through my day gets in the way of your efficiency and productivity, a lot of productivity and progress are lost. A lot of time is lost and wasted because you're asking yourself a lot of questions about the how throughout the day. How am I going to get through all of these tasks? How am I going to prioritize all of this? All the places that you're looking and your head is spinning and you're wondering, how am I going to prioritize? And how do I know I've actually found my priority for the day? Is it not hidden somewhere in a pile on my desk or on a legal pad that I don't see right now? Is it in my email inbox and it just scrolled off the screen maybe today, maybe yesterday, maybe a couple days ago, but I flagged it, but I don't remember it's there. So how am I going to prioritize all of this when you don't really have a handle on all of it? How am I going to get more time? How am I going to get more time? So if you're aware that time is leaking out of your day in like dozens of different ways, every time you turn around, you're thinking, well, that's 5 minutes I'll never get back, or that's 10 minutes I'll never get back. Or, and not because someone else maybe stole it, you could have talked to a coworker, a colleague, a vendor, a partner, someone in your business, and you want to give them your time. I'm talking about the times where that time is wasted, and the most important time that happens and you want to pay attention is when you're spending too long looking for things, whether it's in your email inbox, you're looking for an email, an attachment. Maybe you're looking for contacts in your computer or someone to call, but you can't find the contact information, which also can be embedded in an email somewhere and maybe not in the contact system. You might be looking for a paper or file. Maybe it's on your desk. Maybe it's in your file cabinet. Could be anything. It could be looking for that to-do list on your desk, but there's so many buildups and pileups that it's hard to find. So anytime that you are feeling that sense of, oh my God, I really need to hurry up and find this, and you can't find it, that is a huge red flag right there. And you know that time is leaking out of your day, which leaves you asking the question I said earlier, which is, how am I going to get more time? And then how am I going to get through all these emails? I mean, that's the third big how question. How am I going to get through these? And not only how am I going to get through all of them, but how am I going to handle all the tasks and the follow-ups that come in through the email system? How am I going to prioritize all of that with everything else? So these are the things that actually steal time from doing what you do best. So no matter what your area of expertise and what your talent is, you want to get to that as fast as you can without letting the how get in the way. So imagine if we flip this over, imagine a workday where that kind of rushed reactivity is either minimized or gone, because that is possible. That's what we do here at Productive Day. So we make sure that you not only have a centralized digital task list where everything is housed, think of it as an inventory of all your tasks where there's nothing on your desk anymore, only maybe the stapler and a picture of a loved one, but there's nothing sitting there like a legal pad or post-it notes or anything else as reminders of things to do. Even the papers and files can disappear, and not entirely if there's a few that are just related to action items, but everything else usually disappears. So you get that real estate back. And how great would that be to get that kind of relief? Because whether you realize it or not, that kind of pileup on your desk, no matter how big or small that pileup or that buildup is actually, it's a burden, even though you don't think it is or you aren't aware that it is. But I can tell you without a doubt that once that kind of thing disappears, my clients are always like, oh my God, what a relief. I had no idea how heavy that was. I had no idea how much that was bothering me and how heavy that felt. And so believe it or not, once that goes, huge relief. And also a clear sense of purpose, of I know what I'm going to do next, because that stuff isn't there to distract you, all over the place. You have clarity, you have awareness of what was there and now it's gone. And if it was an action item, it goes into the Taskology task list. Now, recently, I have had a taste of this kind of chaos that I'm talking about that we want to avoid, because last Friday, I lost everything on my computer, and I actually ended up encrypting it because of an HP update that did not agree with Windows. Thank you, HP and Windows. And I ended up encrypting it to keep all the strangers out, and it was keeping me out. So I had to wipe my entire computer clean all the way down to bare bones. And I ran over to Micro Center here in Baltimore. By the way, if you've never been there, they're awesome. And I know that there's more locations around the country, but Micro Center is great. So I went over there. They wiped my computer clean and put Windows back on for me. And then I had to go to Best Buy to get the Microsoft Office put back on my computer, which of course includes Outlook. And of course, Outlook is the foundation for Taskology. That's the platform, if you will. And Taskology is a methodology, so it has nothing to do with the technology, but it is a methodology for your technology. So in the weekend that followed, because this was last Friday, it was chaos for me because I lost my task list. I lost everything. And even though I have everything in Carbonite, so no worries, it all came back. But it took 3 days to get all of my files back from Carbonite. And I love Carbonite, so that was great. But I only had email in my Outlook. I did not have my calendar, my tasks, my contacts, or my notes. And without that task list, and it's been a couple years since this has happened where like every 2 or 3 years I do something to my computer or it locks up and there's some issue and I have to go through this kind of thing. And finally, when I got my task list back, it was a huge relief. But during that time when I didn't have it, I had to work from my phone. And thank goodness all the information was there, but it was very, very difficult because now all of a sudden my tasks were dispersed. And for those of you who don't know what it feels like to have them centralized, you don't know what you're missing because once they're centralized, and you have a grip on all of that, it's an incredible amount of clarity and awareness and control so that you can more efficiently and effectively compare and contrast all those different things you need to do, but you're seeing them all in one location, even the email. And that's later in the system when my clients learn it, but everything is represented there. So you don't actually have to check all these many places where tasks are coming from. And there's more than 10 different sources of tasks in your workday. And that's a lot. So if you're trying to plan and prioritize in your head, that's where things start slipping through the cracks. So as I was experiencing this chaos, which of course I hated, I could just put that hat back on of, well, this is what my clients feel before they learn Taskology. They are looking in a lot of different places, trying to figure out what to do next, what's the most important thing to do, what's the best use of my time, and then feeling like you've missed something. And that is the worst feeling in the world is I've missed something. I've forgotten something. What haven't I done? And of course, that is going to leave you feeling, maybe embarrassed because you might have missed something that someone was waiting for. And now they're knocking on your door or calling you up and saying, where is it? Might have egg on your face, a couple times for stuff like that. That doesn't feel good. You might be just frustrated because now you're alienating certain vendors, partners, prospects, clients, even because you're forgetting to call them back. I had a client once years ago say to me, Leslie, can you help me stop apologizing to my clients for not calling them back? Oh boy, that's not good for business. So if you're a business owner and you are having trouble, keeping track of all those tasks and follow-ups and definitely those to your prospects and clients, that kind of thing can hit the bottom line. And maybe you're not missing out on revenue, but you might be delaying it. You might be really slowing down the process of getting back to those prospects, getting back to those clients so that you can keep the ball rolling. So that's never a good thing. But generally, it's frustration. It's overwhelm. It's knowing that time is slipping away and that you're not accomplishing what you set out to do in the day. And it's that feeling of going home at the end of the day or ending your day just feeling not accomplished and not relieved. And you think, okay, well, now I have to work tonight. Now I got to catch up tonight. And that is no fun. So imagine a workday where you've got that centralized digital task list. And by the way, even if you're using something on your phone, this is the kind of thing where once you set it up in the Microsoft Outlook platform and you've got the Taskology task list, it will sync with your phone, but you got to start with the list in the computer, not the phone. So once you have all that there, then you can properly plan and prioritize and know how many tasks to put on each day because there is a limit to that. You can't bite off more than you can really afford to do. And know how to prioritize from day to day and within a day. But the great part is that it's all right there. It gives you that 100% clarity so that you don't have to look anywhere else to know what to do. And then the regrouping after finishing a task goes completely away. No more regrouping. As soon as you finish something, you know exactly where to go to do the next thing and you dive right in. It's fantastic. So imagine a day where you've got that kind of relief, not only from, clearing the desk and not having any more Post-it notes and no more legal pads and steno pads or planners or anything, nothing to lug around. Imagine all of that is clear and there's nothing to distract you, because that's one of the other things that is really hard on your time and attention. That is, you're trying to work on something, and then all of a sudden in one of the piles to the right or the left of you, something catches your eye and you go off track, and you get distracted and you think, oh my gosh, that's right, I forgot to do this, or it reminds you of something, and maybe it's not that thing but it reminds you of something else, and you don't want those kinds of distractions in your workday. So imagine all of that goes away, and imagine knowing how to handle interruptions and knowing what to do when the phone rings, when somebody stops by, and all of those things, and knowing, having a plan in place and knowing exactly how to handle that. And then having more time to focus on your work and focus on doing what you do best, and not having to worry about email in the inbox piling up, anything piling up on the desk. And the email, by the way, disappears. Getting it down to zero. That's what we do here with Taskology, is get it down to zero. And then, of course, I teach my clients how to keep it that way, because of obviously more is coming in every second of the day. So they have a process in place to know how to keep up with it, and they get to zero every day. Imagine that idea of knowing not only everything that's coming through and that you've seen it, you've made a decision on it, but that you've then moved it to the other locations where it's best referenced, or it's going on the Taskology task list, your centralized digital task list, so that you know that those action steps and follow-ups are actually being compared and contrasted to all of your other tasks that came from all of those other sources. So it doesn't matter the source. It doesn't matter when you're going to take action. What matters is they're all together so that you can make that first decision. And at that point, then you decide, okay, when does it need action? So imagine having that kind of day where it's not rushed, it's not reactive. You actually have more time to work on what you love to do, because everything else moves so much more efficiently and quickly. You get through your tasks faster and easier, and you get to do what you really love to do. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about that idea and pay close attention to how your day is going right now. Ask yourself, is this a workday that's really working? Or is it not working in some areas and it's actually slowing me down? Do I feel like I'm slogging through molasses sometimes? Do I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and I'm going 100 miles a minute, but I'm not getting anywhere? Really reflect on how these things are working for you, because all of these different areas of your workday, whether it's paper and files, electronic documents, tasks, time, email, they all go together. They all are part of your workday, and they need a system to actually systematize how you're actually working. And so any one of them that falls apart can actually affect the other parts. It's all very interesting. So pay close attention to how you're working. I would also recommend, as an action step, to download the free report, the special insights paper that's in the Productivity Power Plus group in Facebook. It's called The 5 Biggest Mistakes. And this is something that will help you lay the foundation and really understand what's happening with tasks in your day and how you might be managing them, and how you might be able to switch gears, where you absolutely can switch gears to make it more efficient and more effective and more productive. So take advantage of that, because that's a really juicy quick insights paper that will give you a lot of details about just specifically tasks. And really the task management piece, even though that's only one of 3, so time and email are the other 2, but task management is the foundation. This is the most important part that you want to get a handle on first, because without this, the other 2, you're not ready for them. They rest on the whole task management platform. So that's how that works. So in the meantime, I'm hoping that you have a productive day today, that you have a productive week until I come back next week on Wednesday. Be sure to download the Quick Insights report, and that way you can get started with, changing your perspective on task management, if that's one of the things that is, holding you up today. All right. So with that said, I will let you get back to your day, and I look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday. So have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.